thank you to everyone for joining. I can't believe this is our fourth Innovators Breakfast already, and it's great to see some familiar faces and some new faces. Hi, Cora. Can you hear us okay,
Hello.
Cora? Hey, thank you for joining and great to meet you. And I was just introducing the call and yeah, like I said, this is the fourth Innovators Breakfast, which is fantastic because I really enjoy hosting these and I love the conversation and the honest interesting, thought-provoking things that come out of these conversations, which do definitely inspire me going forward for the rest of the day. And today's topic of choice is the psychology behind curiosity and creativity, which has always been a fascinating conversation for me to have with people. And I just love to see what this audience thinks of that. We've got Chris joining us. Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, all good.
Chris, for full transparency, Chris is like my ultimate lifetime best mate, and it's fantastic he can join us on this call. So welcome, Chris. Yeah, I would like to start by doing a bit of an icebreaker as always, which kind of doubles up as an introduction for people on the call. So I figured we would just go through kind of on the theme of, the psychology behind curiosity and creativity. What is it that you think for yourself is the most influential factor that drives that? Like, so for me, I'll go first. I'm Dan. I'm the founder of INSO and co-host of the Good Ideas Club podcast. And for me, the most influential thing that I think personally drives my curiosity and creativity is water. For some reason, when I'm in water or near water, it just triggers ideas. The only downside to that is that I love having a notepad and pen, but that doesn't work so well in the shower or in the sea. So I've got to try and hold those thoughts that I get when I'm in or near water and try and get it down onto paper as soon as possible. So that's me. I'll hand over to Chris actually.
It's being put on the spot straight away. I guess I come at it from a slightly different angle in that the I often find it really difficult to make space in busy day schedule for curiosity. And so the biggest thing for me is actually just intentionally creating time to think about things and be curious and create space for having ideas.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a point that I would like to bring on later on in terms of creating the space for it because I'd like to. Sorry, I'm breaking up the icebreaker. I'm going here. Chris, pick someone else and go next. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first person I can see on my list is an Albert Bouchal, if I've said that correctly.
Yeah, almost. That's me. So I think I have the same thing, guys, as you too, because water I recently discovered because I was in on a yacht trip in Italy and Greece, and I actually discovered that it's a psychological phenomenon called blue mind. So if you were near in water or surfing or anything that includes water, it just starts this creative and curiosity process. It's actually well described. But for me, also, there are trips and traveling. It's often seeing the culture that opens my mind. But as Chris also said, I'm having difficulty in the everyday life because it's hard to slow down these days. And to really have an open mind, I think you have to slow down and just be relaxed and so on. So that's about me.
Perfect. And we'll choose someone else.
Yes. So how about Doug Morrison?
Okay, something that I find very good for creativity and curiosity is going for a walk, uh, either on my own or with other people. And I go on something called Walkabout, which is a group of curious individuals uh, started by Ben Braben. And he felt that people spent too much time in front of screens and not dealing with other people. And you can find out more about it on the web. But it's a wonderful thing, meeting other people and talking about anything. Uh, so I would say going for a walk in the countryside is a good starter for curiosity and
Ben's a great
creativity.
guy. And there are these walkabouts, and I believe they've now I think he started them in London, and now they're popping up all over the UK, and maybe they've even
It's
left the UK. So anyone
it's
on this
about
call who's near one of those, I'd highly recommend it.
yes, it's about 25 now, and in other countries as well. Brought it to Australia. Thought it was really good to bring Walkabout to
Amazing.
Australia.
It's the name is fitting, right?
Yeah.
Who's next, Doug?
Habiba.
Thank you for picking me. Okay, so I'm completely the opposite. I think my creativity rises when I'm in around noise. In a busy room, everyone's talking, and I'm a visual learner. I have to have a flip chart and or colors, color pencils or colorings. And as people talking, I just capture like snippets, and I would draw out a map, a mind map. And I think that's where my creativity and my curiosity is, just capturing snippets of the noise. And that works with me when I'm in the silence, and when I'm in a walkabout. It's calming for me, and I think that's not my aha moments for me.
Fascinating. Who's next?
Karina.
Thanks. Yeah, I think I resonate with actually several of the things that have come up already. But for me, I think it's a bit of a two-stage process a lot of the time. Or process is a strong word, but I thrive on being around people who ask really great questions and who just ask the big questions, and it can be about anything. So I find those conversations, those curious conversations, really energizing, and also and sort of mentally sort of invigorating. But it's often the creativity or the ideas often come after I've processed them and I'm in a quieter space. So there's the kind of like the stimulus in the questions and being around curious people, and then something, the light bulb moment, more in the quiet, is I think how that works mainly for me. Yeah.
Nice.
Um,
I think we've got three people who haven't gone yet. So
yeah,
Cameron, Stefano, or Cora, I think.
Yeah, Cameron.
Okay, you might all be surprised at this one, but one of the things that I find makes me most creative is rage. When I get angry, I spend a lot of time looking at new information, studying facts, I suppose. And the best way I come up with new things is I react. I see a problem, I break it down, and then it's just, no, there's a much better way to do this. So then I build from there. And within that construction is where I get creative.
I'm loving this variety. There's so much to unpick here. Who's next? It's either Stefano or Cora, I believe. I think that's it on the call.
My turn.
Yeah, why don't you go next, Cora? Take it.
Oh, okay. This is my first time here, so I'm trying to understand the rules here. So
There are no rules.
yeah, for me, I'm always curious about a lot of things, about the different culture, different people, and different personality. And the thing which activates my curiosity, I think, is talking with people from different culture, especially, quite different from mine. It will give me more curiosity and creativity, and I want to know why behind those kind of their action, or their food they like, or maybe clothes they wear. Yeah, so that's probably the things that for me to be more creative, and to try to have more comprehensive understanding of people's activity, and maybe it brings me great thoughts to do my work, or to live my life in a different way. Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking.
Amazing.
I
And
don't
where,
know.
and where are you joining us from, Cora?
I'm based in China.
Amazing. Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's why I'm very curious. Oh, what's this event is about? And maybe it will bring me a lot of great ideas and creativity.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
let's chat. I'll message you after the I'll message you after the call, and we'll have a one-to-one, and I'll kind of bring you up to speed with everything. But brilliant, brilliant to have you here from all the way from China. It's incredible. And Stefano, I think last but not least.
Yeah, thanks. Lots of interesting points of view, and very happy to be here as well. Yeah, I'm a bit, I mean, a bit of everything here because for me, curiosity is a solo thing. Like curiosity can start listening my favorite electronic ambient music that make my mind open up, and think about things. Can be interacting with people. The walk is a great, I did it personally as an experience, is amazing. So curiosity in networking and understanding more with empathy the others is also a thing. Curiosity can start if I go in a store and start watching labels and products and imagining how would I do that differently. Um, but yeah, there are many, many ways. I read something very interesting I'd like to share is that boredom or doing nothing, which is normally associated to something a bit of a laziness, or is actually somebody at the beginning said, I need to create the space. That's exactly the moment for many people to create the space in your mind to generate to allow creativity or at least curiosity to generate, to spark. Because our daily life very busy oppress this, and so I found it interesting also to share. So don't be afraid of being bored because maybe that's the beginning of something good.
Yeah.
Mm.
Chris can take note there. So you just need to be bored more, and then you'll create more space for the rest to follow. No, thank you so much. That was a fascinating. I mean, sorry, I've been taking notes because there's just so much here to unpick. And like, I'm looking at this as someone who tries to inspire creativity within groups, and like, my sessions are always so short, sharp, intense sprints, but inevitably they're quite two-dimensional because how could I possibly cater? And this is a question for the group. Like, how do we then inspire like Stefano said, it's very much a personal thing, right? All these things are deeply personal, and I don't know whether you control them, you're just kind of born with them, or you find them like Albert did with the water. But how do you then, because often creativity and problems we're trying to solve are done as teams, how do you then create the environment where everyone gets to kind of benefit from their particular thing? So like, if we were trying to do it in this group here, you've got Cameron on the one spectrum who just thrives in rage and chaos, and then you've got who is it just likes calm and quiet. I think someone just said, I just like to be calm and in my own head. How do you create an environment which kind of caters for that? Or is it even possible? I don't know. Out there to the group, but
Well, I don't know if you can have 9 people doing the same thing at the same time. So probably if you're working in a team like you're suggesting, I see more people like being the instigator, the spark, they bring their curiosity and the initial thoughts, and maybe others are more able to build on that rather than being the instigator for several reasons. Maybe they are also curious, but they are less keen to share or to be the one breaking the rules and all breaking the ice. So it's about the role that each of us self-assign sometimes to the team, or maybe are pre-assigned. When I was building teams, I was definitely trying to pick up people that are a bit of a good mix. That's how the team works well. I know that there are doers and there are thinkers, maybe a little bit, but too many creative together. Well, maybe Cameron will win because then generate the rage, and then Cameron thrives in that. I'm joking, but I don't know. I feel
no,
like
it's a good point. Like, I mean, I I think also like my kind of framing of that was very much like in any given moment in a snap of time. But of course, over the duration of a project, there are going to be different emotions and circumstances. So there may be times of the projects where it does feel a bit more pressured and rage is there. And there'll be times of the project when there's maybe a bit of a lull. So I guess over time, everyone might get exposed to their kind of creative muse, as it were. Um, I can't imagine many projects that have a dedicated time to go and spend in the sea. But I know like in Guernsey, for example, the bathing pools, which is a natural sea-fed swimming pools, does seem to be increasingly a common spot for corporates to go and do offsites and team building activities and just people to be near or in the water. And yeah, maybe that's a really, really powerful catalyst. But yeah,
See, when it comes to the rage aspect, I've I find that when you're trying to solve a problem, if you've suddenly become very angry at the problem, you have this well of energy that you can utilize to solve the problem. It means that you will go further than most. You will look in places that don't look. You will think of new ways to do things. It it gives you the leverage to want to do things that you wouldn't usually want to do. And when it comes to the whole curiosity side of things, wanting to know more is the nature of curiosity. Some people just don't want to know more. Others do. I know personally, I I want to know almost everything when it comes to science, technology, the world I'm living in, the environment. Ideally, I'd love to know everything about people, but being autistic, I struggle. But that doesn't stop me trying to learn. And the angrier I get at the times I fail, the more inspired and driven I am to figure out where the problem is and how to solve it.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
just a separate side note here. I don't know if Albert and Cameron have connected before. I don't know if you were on the same previous calls, but you two should definitely speak. You have very, very kind of similar areas of interest. Um, yeah, I think like for me, it's one of the things that I wanted to raise on here as well, and you brought it up nicely there, Cameron, is like the definitions and what it means to be, or like what is curiosity versus creativity? Like what are the synergies between them? Like, can you be creative without being curious, and vice versa? So again, just a talking point for the group. Like I'm like Cameron. I kind of want to know everything and understand everything, but I also know that that's very impossible. So for me, it's about trying to be quite strategic with how I use my time and energy and resources, and I do find that difficult. But then the creative part of me can't leave an idea in my head. I have to go away and build it, which again, like leads me to being susceptible to falling into the build trap and just building, building, building without necessarily building the right things. Like that's my personal kind of battle between curiosity and creativity.
It's difficult to find the right outlets for these different emotions, I think, because, you know, we all enjoy our work when we're given the space to like be curious and explore those things that are kind of itching at you and have a go at building those things. But they don't always have like a cross section in common with, say, your personal goals or your business goals or what your team are trying to do at that moment in time. And yeah, like modern corporate culture doesn't leave much space for curious people. I think they're quite often seen as like a buzzing bee around the team that's not kind of adding to that forward progress, which I think is a really negative thing. Um, so yeah, trying to find that like you said, that common ground between curiosity and creativity, where you can like harness it and use it to solve a problem that's in front of you, rather than just like being ever presently curious about the things around you as a sort of like wandering aimlessly through the fields kind of character. It's yeah, so I think it's, you know, it's good to explore the general kind of curiosity problem and how can we all find ways to get more out of ourselves and more out of the people around us by creating space for it. But that's just like, yeah, and then harnessing that to like business value is just a whole other horrible sticky problem.
Yeah. Karina, Karina works for a leadership firm, and I wonder there's because I've been convinced, Karina, that there's a lot of synergy between what we're doing at INSO and what you're doing at Leaders. And does any of this kind of chime with the stuff that you do from more the leadership analysis side?
So yeah, this so I'm curious. This is sparking lots of ideas. So I'm gonna if I can just sort of share a few things that are going in my mind, and I'm gonna just go back to what you were saying to begin with, Dan, about that kind of coming into a session with a group and actually how do you kind of like how do you bring everybody together or how do you provide what everybody needs? And I kind of think you kind of said it in the it's just that spark, isn't it? Because we are all different, and for some people the ideas will bubble up there and then in the room, and for others, as they kind of like ruminate and think through, it'll come later. So it's almost like having the kind of like creating the space and the opportunity for that curiosity to just kind of bubble up. But I think from a leadership perspective, it's been said as well. I think, Chris, you started off saying that it's finding that space in the busyness and in the culture that we've got. Because I know for myself and for speaking to leaders, when you're in the operational side of things, when you're doing, your brain is just in a different space. But the pressure can be there depending on your business and where to do it. So I think you have to be intentional then. Intentional. There's a phrase that I use all the time, which I just bring to mind, that I wonder. And so if I find myself rushing and busy and just doing, actually just kicking into using the I wonder phrase about something just brings me out, for even if it's for a short period of time, to the bigger picture. And I think it's practicing curiosity. That's what I really wanted to say, was that leaders can practice
I love
curiosity.
that.
It's a skill. And we're not always in the most creative zones, but we can always get back, or we can always help ourselves to increase our curiosity and creativity. It is exploration. That's kind of right.
Can I build on that? Can I build on that? I don't know if I interrupt somebody.
No, go.
No, I completely relate with what Chris and Karina just said. Like, to me, this is not a mystery why offsites have been created, right? Because that's a famous generation of space and a new environment. I personally, in my corporate life, the moments where I felt more creative and recognized and such, where I was rather in an offsite or speaking to people that are external to the company, like agencies, or because there was something new, a new condition, I felt allowed. And that brings me to the second point I wanted to raise, which is there's a definitely a big component in terms of company culture. How much, yes, there is pressure. Yes, everybody has tight objectives, but how much my company allows me to be creative, allows me to say naive things sometimes. And I don't feel like the alien in the room and people look at me like, really, man? Like, who are you? No, because I experienced that and it was very sad. Like on one moment, because expressing curiosity is a matter of courage, is a matter of, taking the lead of breaking the rules and say something different. And when you are cut down or shut down by the leader that the moment before said, speak openly, say what you think, you really bounce back and you risk to close in your shell and say, okay, I will never reveal in the future who I am. Okay. Fortunately, that has not been my case. I've been known as the naive guy of the team, and I don't care because I think that's so good that you can express yourself at work, and that's sort of always what I encourage when in people in my team. But I wanted to raise the point about the culture because I think is a key factor here.
I think that culture point is quite complex. To start with, I would say that when it comes to curiosity, you have two types. You've got natural curiosity and necessary curiosity. So obviously, when it comes to natural curiosity, there's no way you can teach that. There's no way you can fake that. Your curiosity in things is innate to you, and that will drive you and whatever. Then there's the necessary curiosity where when you're in a workplace, if you are building your career, if you are getting through your career, you need to learn new things. You need to be able to step beyond your current boundaries. So that's where the necessary curiosity comes in. So you learn new things and you try and leap forwards. But when it comes to culture, if you've got a culture that sort of stifles the team from being able to be curious, I would say you also need courage. So in that setting, you would need courage to be able to put forwards any ideas that you did have. Whereas in a different type of culture where you're open and you are happy for the team to express their thoughts, their opinions, what they've been thinking, then they don't need as much courage to be able to speak, and a lot more people might be able to actually contribute ideas. I know that with my teams, I'm not an engineer and I'm not a technical expert. So when I'm talking to my AI engineers, I'm not telling them anything about AI. They're telling me. When I'm talking to my creative design lead, I'm autistic. I deal with black and white and sharp edges. So he tells me what we're doing. My materials engineer, he tells me. I the people at the top have to understand that you don't know everything. So the teams themselves, they have to be free and open to speak their mind. But if you've got an environment where they're told not to, they're never going to. So you'll never get curiosity, you'll never get that creativity, you'll never get the adventurous people that will say something just for the sake of, well, what if?
Abiba, you've got your
Mm.
hand raised. Very polite.
Yeah, oh, this conversation is very, very interesting. I think just touching on what Cameron said about the natural versus the necessity, I think it all comes down to what's the problem that we're trying to solve and how it makes you feel. Because certainly I've been in conversations, whether it's with family or with friends or with colleagues, where a problem has arisen that needs to be solved, but I'm not feeling that connected to it. So I won't be exploring that curiosity side of it. And it's how it makes me feel and how I think it resonates with me. So it does sometimes come back to a personal approach of the connection to the problem. Because if it, like Cameron was saying, if there is a problem that is presented to me that's frustrating me, maybe one solution is not enough. You do get frustrated, you do get angry, you feel like it's not enough. I haven't explored this further, and then you get through that frustration, you dig deeper. But all in all, I think it is how it makes you feel, the whole problem that you're trying to solve.
Yeah, so I'm going to throw two things that are like bubbling around in my head. Amazing. The first, to build on Habiba's point, is, we ran a session yesterday, and incentivization for change was a huge part of it. Like, the team arrived at a pretty painful conclusion that actually would psychologically disincentivize them to do it, and therefore that's going to mean it's a whole less likely that they're invested in actually doing it, even though we think it might be the right thing for the growth of the organization. So it's what incentivizes you to be curious and creative, and maybe that kind of plays to the necessary curiosity. Like, if someone says, I'm going to give you a big bonus, does that automatically frame your mind to be like, right, I'm now invested in this, I'm going to find a solution? And then the other part to that is more linked to Stefano and Cameron's point about culture. And I think there's often, having the ability to say the obvious thing, or as Simon Sinek puts it, be the idiot in the room and ask the obvious questions. There's also a huge part about that of the culture about how a company or organization or team deals with failure. And like, are we actually okay with one, saying stupid things, two, trying something different, and three, genuinely learning from that and accepting that not everything works first time? And how does failure influence, or therefore is a contributing factor to curiosity and creativity? So yeah, sorry, a bit of a vomit there, but I had to get them out.
Failure should never be feared. Humanity would never have reached the point we have if it wasn't for successive, repetitive failures. They are instrumental in our progress. You have to fail to know what not to do. It's like you don't know what light is if you don't have darkness. You don't know what good is if you don't have evil. Some things are just necessary in pairs.
Cora, that resonated with you. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel it's very interesting, and I finally figured out what's this all about. It's about kind of like in a corporate setting, and or maybe in a group setting, you try to spark people's curiosity and creativity. For me personally, I think sometimes people have creativity we doesn't have to spark their curiosity. I mean, sometimes if we give them space, allowance, allow them to speak, They don't have to be very curious about certain things. Their creativity is already there. They can be sparked out of this. And also, I totally I find funny, and I mean, agree. Carmerson just said, you know, failure and the evil things, and sometimes it's just the instruments towards our success or people's success, not just the failure or you know, devil, just steps towards good stuff. Yeah. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Doug, what are your thoughts on all this? You're quietly mulling it all over. Albert, I'm coming for you next, by the way.
It's especially quiet when I don't have the microphone on. Yes, I've been buzzing away at a lot of these things and echoing things. I disagree with a few things, but when I organised a brainstorming event, I invited a magician along and he performed a trick. And that was to get people into the mindset that things that you thought were impossible might not be. And you need to be open to the view that things don't have to be the way they are. I've been at other events where there've been musicians, and having a bit of music can put you in a creative mood. But I think curiosity and creativity are really totally different. You can get an artist who will paint stuff, but they're not the slightest bit interested. Why does a brick fall? I mean, it's not read any books on gravity or anything, but you let go a brick and why? How does that happen? Why are we here? I mean, all the equations of the universe and the mathematics would be entirely true whether or not the universe exists. So what breathes life into these equations? Why are we actually here? So I'm just imbued with curiosity. I want to know why things work, how things work. But to be creative, you don't need to be concerned about that. You can just paint different colors and there's no right or wrong. I find art very hard to understand because there's no right or wrong. Whereas if you have a theory and it doesn't match reality, then it's wrong. But
it comes to like Cameron said earlier, like it's black, white, sharp edges for him. So like I presume, Cameron, does that inspire you to dig in more, or is that too kind of grey in the middle? How does that make you feel about the whole
No,
why we're
no.
here? What are the bigger picture questions? And
To be honest, I have my own theory of everything. So I do agree with Doug. I'm naturally curious about absolutely everything. But being autistic, I'm not necessarily that creative, but I am very good at solving a problem using. I see the entirety of reality as just bricks, really. Everything builds something else. And it's just a matter of finding which bricks go where to me. But I'm desperately curious to find out how every brick fits into every single place. But I work backwards. I'm not necessarily creative at coming up with a solution, but I'm still curious. I want to solve the problem. I will find a way whether or not I'm creative. I know that other people have come up with solutions and things and different components. So if there are different pieces, I'll pick up that brick and put it there, pick up that brick and put it there. So when it comes to creativity and curiosity, I would say they're very, very separate, but curiosity is so vast that anyone can be interested in anything, and you can find out quite a lot just through a Google.
couple of hands raised. I don't want to have to micromanage the call, so just jump in if there's Stefano. I think you went first, but
Yeah. So I want to react to what I just heard from Doug and Cameron. I feel, let's say, 80% in alignment with all of them. I feel like, as Cameron just said, curiosity is very vast. Like I'm personally very curious about astrophysics, and I'm a marketing guy. right? Will I ever be able to create something about astrophysics? No. It's something that fulfill an aspect of my personality. I mean, a curiosity, call it whatever you want. So for me, I see creativity like curiosity in action, meaning how can you be creative? Because to be creative, for me, creative means solving a problem in a way that has never been solved before. But how can I solve it if I'm not curious to understand what generated the problem and what can be done differently? So speaking to people, empathy, design thinking, you name it, right? But to me, that's the process. So I completely agree with the fact that curiosity is so vast, and but you don't have necessarily to translate it in creativity. But at the same time, I struggle to imagine creativity without a curiosity, a passion for understanding what generated the problem.
Mm.
That's my point of view.
And so coming back to what Cameron was talking about, there was this one bit that I find really useful, and that's why I go back to, like, when I'm in a busy room with other people, because what happens is I think we all have our limited beliefs. We all have a limited of how high the ceiling is when it comes to curiosity or being creative. And when you're in a room with mixed people with different types of backgrounds and different walks of life, your ceiling starts to move. And that's where I think it really is interesting to be in these kind of settings for me. And that's where I feel like I'm kind of pushing myself, because I would have walked into a room thinking, okay, I can only spend 100,000 in this project. But then you get into the conversation with people, you understand a bit more, and then you realize, okay, maybe me spending 100,000 isn't the actual goalpost. Maybe it can be a bit more, or in different ways. I think our limited beliefs that we grow up with, or our lived experiences, kind of I wouldn't say it does a disadvantage to us in our exploration. And that's why when you're in a group setting and when you're with other people with innovative thinking or other ways of delivering projects or successful projects, it really helps you explore where you can go, other places that you never thought of before.
Yeah, it's nice. Albert, as a man who's constantly looking up at the sky and beyond, working in the space sphere, what do you think about ceilings?
Yeah,
You don't
I
have a
think,
ceiling.
well, yeah, the sky is basically the limit, right? But it's not. I think this whole problem is a social engineering problem, which are, for engineers, are probably the hardest ones, because not everything works for everyone as we would like to imagine, right? So if even we talked about the failures, so even if you fail with one person or with one approach, it doesn't mean that you will fail in the same way with totally different person, right? So that's the difficult part of it. And I think there's that natural curiosity and maybe the forced curiosity when you really want to and have to work. But maybe we are a bit biased in this group, because even I think if we hadn't been curious, it's maybe part of it why we are here in this call. So maybe there are, I think sometimes there are people that just block themselves from things that they immediately assess as above them, as too complicated. Somehow the ignorance, I don't want to solve it because it's too complicated for me. I think in this group, we might be a bit different. So it's just something to point out. I think it's much better if you're introduced to a problem that you have an idea how to solve, and you can see, yeah, what's the solution. Maybe something like the I wonder thing that Karina was talking about really helps. I wonder how it would be solved, but let's see. Yeah, so that's just my point of view, that maybe we are here a bit different
For
with
sure.
our approaches. Yeah.
And like we've all said, like what's our different kind of inspiration sources, but you're right, there's definitely a natural echo chamber in this group by the fact that we're all willing to click in and have this conversation. One thing I'm talking to a lot of people recently, and I hear like just from either reading or seeing about you coming back to the point about ceilings, and I can't remember who was talking about it the other day, but about how our parents and how our environment sets these ceilings very early on as a child, in terms of like I've grown up in a certain area. These are the jobs that tend to surround me and what my friends and family and parents are doing. Therefore, my ceiling is this. I don't know, again, how much of this do we feel is just anchored from us as kids? I don't know if anyone here has got any form of more formal knowledge of psychology and stuff like that, but I'd love to drill into that a little bit more. Like, why do we have these ceilings?
If you're listening to my dad, every time I went and did something, my ceiling kept crashing down on top of me.
Mm. Mm.
I think I think it's very I think the ceiling thing is very real, and I think it does come with the stories that we've grown up with, the stories that people around us tell us. And I would say stories because they're just Hamid was talking about those limiting beliefs, and that's I think where a lot of our limiting beliefs can come from, because we've had those things just there, so that's just is, and we don't always question them. But I was listening to a podcast. It was a little while ago, from the Growth Equation. They've got some really good stuff, some really quick coach ups, and they use a lot of sports science as well. And the bit that stayed with me was like, actually, it's not about raising. Sometimes it's not about raising the ceiling; it's about raising the floor. And that actually that it's that stepping up, and that actually sometimes as we step up, you kind of create that more space and more capacity. And I quite liked that it was so reducing the negative, and rather than thinking, oh, I've got to always like lift the ceiling, actually maybe if I can step up and I'm stepping up and elevating, and it kind of goes with you, that kind of thing. So it was just a moment of like, oh yeah, it's not always about progress and striving. Sometimes it's about, do you know, I just need to reduce the times I'm not curious, or I just need to have this little, it's that 1% thing in a way. But
Yeah.
I just loved the don't worry about the ceiling.
There's definitely different framing. Like when you said that, then I was just like in the gym the other day, like someone was saying, when you do press ups, you're not pushing your body up, you're pushing the floor away from you, and it's just stupid little framings like that. I think are quite powerful in terms of
Yeah.
our, how that impacts our brain. I we these are typically 45 minutes. I've increased it to an hour, so we've got kind of 15-minute fudge factor at the end, and the conversation's going strong. But I mean, I I don't. I try to avoid AI as much as possible because it seems to dominate absolutely everything at the moment. But it's hard to have a conversation about curiosity, creativity from a very human perspective without talking about the impact of AI on that. So I wanted to just quickly kind of close off the session, purposely keeping it towards the end so it doesn't dominate everything. Does AI enhance or stifle the individuals on this call? For
Depends how you,
me, I feel like it contributes to my creativity. It gives me more tools. It doesn't replace my thinking. It enhances it. That's just personally my experience with it. But I can see how it can make me lazier in different areas, in the same way that handheld calculators meant, my ability to do maths on pen and paper was diminished. But I don't feel that that's really impacted me.
I think it depends who you are. Obviously, like if one of the way I use AI is as in addition to what I'm doing. So I'll do the bulk of the work and then AI will look over it, rather than having AI do the work and then I look over it. A lot of people I've found are outsourcing their entire thought process to AI, and
Mm.
that's useless. That is a complete waste of time for you and the AI. The AI is just regurgitating crap, basically, and you end up believing everything that you get told by the AI, and we've built an entire lifetime of not believing everything we're told. And like I personally refuse to use a calculator as much as possible, and the AI is only in addition to expanding my capabilities. But I think there is a big risk that people will outsource their entire thought process to AI.
Mm.
Yeah, I
I
think
think it's
it does.
created a world now where people can dream a bit more about what's possible, because there's this new technology that is very capable of lots of different things given different instructions and prompts and inputs and embedding into different systems. You know, there's much more that we can collectively do now, which I think opens the doors to businesses that may not have worked because they would have relied on needing humans to do certain bits of it, even if it was very, very low skilled bits of it. And I think that whether that's actually true or not, whether there will be new businesses based on that is kind of irrelevant. I think it's the fact that it gives people the space to say, but maybe AI could do that, and therefore we could build on the shoulders of that and create other things that are more interesting and more clever.
Do you think it's kind of, as in Karina's analogy, it's raised the floor for us as a new starting point?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and you know, like you, Dan, like you're now getting in amongst it, engineering things where before you would have been
Came to
just
you.
stuck in a design loop. Yeah,
This
you
is a
would have been
perfect
pestering me.
example. Chris and I worked on a project and I had an idea, but I just had no way to do it. Like, you know, fast forward a few years, I could do it myself. Now, you could argue that that ruined a perfectly great opportunity for Chris and I to build something together. Like, there's definitely human elements and there's definitely social and much, much bigger impacts to using those tools. But it is a physical possibility now when it wasn't. Stefano, yeah, you got your hand up?
Yeah. So building on what we just said, can I say something very naive? So I think AI has been marketed horribly because the word, and I want to build on what Cameron said. The word I personally, I would call the A of AI amplified intelligence, because that's exactly what it does. If you relate to this as an artificial, meaning the word artificial recall all the bad things that you can, in fact, feel about AI today. The replacement, the inaccuracy, the fear of somebody replacing me in my job because it will be artificially done. But we know that, exactly as Cameron said, this is not the best way to use AI. The only way to use AI efficiently, at least where the tools are now, is to use it as an extension of you, as your assistant, if you want. So you need to talk to them correctly. You need to spend a lot of time promptly correcting. You need to feed it with the right information. So yes, it's changing the way we work, but the human brain is solicited, in my view, in a good way, because asking the right questions in the right form is an intellectual exercise that, frankly speaking, I'm improving thanks to AI, because the way we were working was so mechanical sometimes. But if you want to get the best out of it, you need to learn to talk, and you need to learn to express your thoughts in a very constructed way. And also, you need to analyze. You need to reflect on the results you get. So you need to apply critical thinking of what you get. So you have correct brain exercise in preparing and organizing your thoughts, and you have critical thinking. And to me, this is a gain versus the way people, the low average way of people talking and communicating today. So if you interpret this way, for me, this is an amplified intelligence rather than artificial replacing everything we do. When we will get to robots, then there's another story, and maybe I will be surpassed. But so far, I would love to call it that way.
I'd love to go back in time and be able to split test that and say, if you were to have, whoever coined the term artificial intelligence, and I'd never thought about it like that. Like, artificial is bad, right? Artificial stuff in food we want to get rid of. We want everything to be organic. If you'd rebranded AI as amplified intelligence, I wonder, even though it would be exactly the same tools and outcomes, you know, how would people's framing of that be now? I'd love to know that. You guys need to invent
Yeah.
some space-time travel things and actually allow us to do this sort of testing. So over to Albert,
Almost
Cameron,
there.
and Stefano, maybe he can get involved. Guys, I don't know if anyone else wants to contribute to the AI discussion. We have a few minutes left on the call, but for me, it's been an absolutely fantastic, fantastic discussion. And my head is, as always, after these calls, popping with ideas and stuff. Fantastic to also see the chat being used, connections being made. Yeah, go, Doug.
Something I'd like to say is that AI enables you to write a huge amount very quickly. but it doesn't help you to read a huge amount very quickly. And so there's loads of stuff on LinkedIn, people publishing articles that they would never have had time to publish before, but it's just clogging up everything. And people don't seem to realize that it takes a long time to read this if you actually read it.
Just like AI creates
there
it
are
and then
ways
AI
of
summarizes.
summarizing it, but that's not the same, and you don't know whether it summarized it well. So there's an imbalance there. You need to think about how are people going to find the time to read what you could produce very quickly.
They're never going to. Right now, there's with scientific papers. So I think it's about 2 million scientific papers get produced every year, and they can't be peer reviewed. The amount of scientists available to look at a particular paper and the time it takes to do that, they just don't have the resources available to go through all those papers within a year. So now that you've got AI helping produce more papers, it's only exacerbating the situation. And as Doug just said, you can have AI go through and summarize, but there's no chance, you can't guarantee that the summary will be accurate and the information that you need and the summary that you're actually hoping for. I have a team of about 10 different AI engineers, all trying to train the AI for one particular app at the moment. And the nature of using the AI from a business perspective is we need accuracy. We need it to be consistent, and we need to be sure that the information it's pulling is the right information. So it's like breeding plants. You've got to train it and then back cross it with its original LLM, see where the differences are, find the mistakes, go back, and you've just got this loop of training. So I find that AI can get very, very tricky, and we really don't fully understand it yet.
Fantastic.
I think it's like cross purposes to like what we want it to do. We're looking for this like curiosity, creativity helper where we're going to try and break new ground and discover new things. But the LLMs, they're good at things that are already well known and well cited, and where it's got huge databases of content for. So it can speed up tasks where you know, like, okay, go find me the answer to this thing because it's well known. But what we really wanted to do is to say, find me a new way to solve this problem. And that's not what it's for. And I think that's a very kind of that's always going to come with friction, because it kind of gives you, the LLMs anyway from the AI world, that they give you an answer that sounds very convincing. It's written in a way that reads well. It's delivered with excitement and quite a bit of sycophantic language, but it's yeah, and then you read it through and you're like, well, actually it just fundamentally doesn't work. And I think we're just trying to use it in a way that it's not intended for.
For sure.
Oh, sorry, Dan, you go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just to Chris's point there, like as someone who I'm building a tool at the moment that I'm trying to get it to help me run my creative workshops. And then like the problem I was trying to solve is how do I give people a tool that allows them to very quickly get their thoughts on paper if they're not the most loud vocal person in the room. And at the moment we use things like whiteboards and sticky notes, but inevitably, there's a little bit of technical friction there. So I'm trying to create something that's kind of like a pseudo whiteboard / Slido, but I want to integrate AI to it so that it kind of boosts and enhances that and maybe highlights some blind spots, helps people try and frame their mind differently, think from a different perspective in order to try and generate just more human, ultimately human generated content. So I'm trying to do that at the moment, but it's still in very early doors testing. But maybe an audience like this would be fantastic to help me test that and see if it actually works. But
do any of you know about Thought Space? Have you come across Thought Space? So it's a 3D mapping software that's designed to solve wicked problems. and it's a brilliant system. So if you're into brainstorming and that sort of thing, it's designed to solve wicked problems.
Thanks, Doug. I'll definitely check that out.
Worth a look.
My brain does that independently. Does anyone, one question, does anyone ask, say, a question to ChatGPT and then go and ask the same question to Grok and some of the other AIs?
Yeah, I do it across multiple.
I do with Claude and with Gemini.
It's quite funny seeing the difference between their responses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I did it.
If I may build on that, it's even funnier if then you try to challenge them each other. And you say, "Dear Claude, I don't like what you wrote to me. ChatGPT is much better," and you copy this, and you see the reaction. It's very funny because there's a bit of anger that you can read between the lines, but that's the way to stimulate the machine. It's incredible. I don't know. I'm amused by these things. I don't know.
So we had the INSO summer party, and I introduced a bit of a competition, and I created a riddle with AI to create the riddle, but I iterated with it, so it was controlled by me. It wasn't just kind of like, I didn't just use what was spat out, and then I fed the riddle back into 3 separate models to like almost as a bit of a split test. Like, if the AI can do this, then if I put it in front of humans, I stand a good chance that actually people are going to get it. And it was amazing to see the different responses. I mean, Perplexity got it in 1, and it had very detailed reasoning about why it deducted it. Copilot utterly failed, and ChatGPT got it after about 3. It got it in 3 answers with a few kind of prods on my side. But I absolutely love doing this, like feeding stuff back in. And yeah, like I've definitely found limitations with AI for sure that are quite frustrating, and stuff that as a human you think surely it can do this stuff, but there are huge flaws. Anyway, I'm going to have to call the meeting there. We are bang on time. Thank you so much. Amazing to see the connections being made. Don't worry, this isn't the last one. We host these every month, so just keep an eye out on our LinkedIn page. I'll always be pushing these out, and I'll make sure you guys are kind of included in the direct comments just so that you don't forget them. But thank you so much. Hope you all enjoyed it. Have a fantastic rest of the day. And you know, as Karina said earlier, sometimes ideas manifest themselves later on. So just please feel free to message or connect the dots, or if you have any burning questions or ideas. Habiba and I, on the back end of a comment of hers, hosted the last one together. You know, Doug, maybe there's something we can do in terms of that deeper level conversation you want, because I'm fascinated by the whole prospect of free will and where that comes from and why we're here. Maybe that's a talking point for the next Innovators Breakfast. But thank you so much, and have a great day.
Yeah, have a great day, everyone.
Bye.